It's one thing to build an app that works when everything's going right, but it's a whole other ballgame to build one that can withstand failure. Today, we're going to dive deep and master the powerful new error handling capabilities in the Next.js App Router so we can make our apps truly resilient. We have all been there. I know I have. You're working on a cool new feature, you finally push it to production, and then, boom, a single, uncaught JavaScript error brings the entire user experience to a screeching halt. You're left with that dreaded blank white screen. It's frustrating for us as developers, but it's way, way worse for our users.
And that's the big question, right? What if you could actually contain that failure? Isolate it to just one part of the page so that the rest of your app, your main navigation, your other features, they all stay perfectly interactive and usable. Well, that's exactly what Next.js now lets us do.
So first, let's get some context here. The shift to the app router in Next.js 13 was, and I mean this, a massive paradigm change. It completely introduced a new file-based architecture that redefines how we think about and handle errors. Now, the core piece of tech that makes all this possible is the React error boundary. And this isn't even a Next.js thing. It's a fundamental concept in React itself. The best way to think of it is like a safety net. If any component inside that boundary throws an error, the boundary catches it, shows a nice fallback UI, and stops the whole app from coming crashing down. All right, so how do we actually create one of these safety nets in Next.js? Well, it's with a super simple file convention, error.tsx. And I absolutely love this analogy. Think of it as a local fire extinguisher for a specific room. If a fire starts in, say, your dashboard's invoice section, this file puts it out right there, without the entire building having to burn down. And the best part, it is so easy to set up. You literally just create an error.tsx file right next to your page.tsx. There are two crucial things to remember. You have to make it a client component by adding the useClient directive at the top, and then you just export a regular React component. That's it. Next.js takes care of all the wiring for you. Now, this component isn't just a static oops page, it's actually interactive. Next.js hands it two really important props. First is the error object, which gives you some info about what went wrong. And the second one, the reset function, is pure gold. This is what lets you give the user that magical try again button that can actually work by just re-rendering that little piece of the UI. Now here's a super important point. For security reasons, Next.js is not going to send detailed server error messages to the client in production. Instead, that error object gets a special property called a digest. It's just a unique hash. This is the absolute key. It's the bridge that connects that vague error message your user sees to the super detailed logs on your server, letting you find and squash bugs securely. So, while error.tsx is definitely your go-to, your number one tool, it's not your only tool. To build a truly robust application, we need to expand our safety system with a few other specialized files. First up, let's talk about the difference between a real error and just not finding something. Error.tsx is for the unexpected stuff. Your code actually broke. But notFound.tsx, that's for the expected situations, like a user searching for a blog post that just doesn't exist. You trigger this one on purpose with the notFound function, and it gives a much cleaner, more specific user experience than a generic error page. And that brings us to the hierarchy of it all. Remember that error.tsx is the fire extinguisher for one room. It contains the damage but keeps the rest of the building's structure, like your main layout and navigation, totally intact. But what if the fire starts in the main structure itself? Well, that's where global-error.tsx comes in. This is the building's sprinkler system. It's the last resort that catches catastrophic failures in your root layout and replaces the entire app UI. So let's put it all together real quick. You've got these three specialized tools. For those unexpected crashes in a specific part of your app, you're going to use error.tsx. For predictable not-found states where something's just missing, use not-found.tsx for a much better user experience. And for that absolute worst-case scenario, a catastrophic failure in your root layout, global-error.tsx is your final fallback. Just remember, it has to define its own HTML and body tags. Okay, so we've covered the tools. But, just having a hammer doesn't make you a carpenter, right? To build a truly professional app, you need a strategy, one that goes way beyond just catching errors, and is more about how you manage them. And this entire strategy, it really rests on two main pillars. Pillar number one is all about the user experience, or UX, and both these pillars are equally important because if you neglect one, the whole thing falls apart. When something goes wrong, your goal is to make it as painless as possible. Your error messages need to be clear, they need to be helpful, give the user an action like try again or go home. And please, never ever blame them or show them a bunch of confusing technical jargon. That message is for them, not for you.
And that brings us to pillar number 2, the developer experience, or DX. Because a great error message for the user is totally useless if you, the developer, have no idea how to find and fix the bug. This is where good, structured logging is completely non-negotiable. You need to log every error with context, timestamps, user IDs if you have them, and most importantly, log that error.digest hash. That's how you connect the dots from the user's screen right back to your server logs. All right, we've gone through the tools, we've talked strategy, so what are the big takeaways? What do you need to remember starting right now to build more resilient applications?
Number 1, always use the right tool for the job. Not every failure is a catastrophic crash. Number 2, respect the hierarchy. Use those local error.tsx files to preserve as much of your UI as possible and only use global-error.tsx for true emergencies. And finally, number 3, always design for both your users and your future self. A helpful error message plus a detailed log is the winning combination every single time. So I'll leave you with this one question to think about. It's pretty easy to build an app that works when everything goes right. The real mark of a professional, solid application is how it behaves when things go wrong. So ask yourself, is your app just functional, or is it built to be truly fault-tolerant?